It's a tough job, you know, but somebody's got to do it. This week on Test Drive, we take a look at the Trans Am Ram Air. Woo, boy. A car set to go head to head with the Mustang Cobra.
The Trans Am has always been a pretty hot and heavy automobile where the focus has been fairly direct. Power, power and more power. Well, for 96, the WS6 Ram Air Edition is the hottest to date.
The first indication that this Firebird is a little different is found right up front here, because these two hood scoops are actually functional. Air is drawn in through them straight into the air cleaner box. In effect, as the name would imply, the air is rammed into the air cleaner and then into the engine. The result? Free breathing, lots of horsepower.
The effect this forced air induction method has is immediately obvious. Horsepower jumps from 285 to 305, while torque jumps 10 to 335 pounds-feet at 3200 RPM. The result is instantaneous throttle response. Breathe on the gas pedal and the power comes on big time. In the race to the 100k mark, the Ram Air requires just 5.5 seconds. Beyond the legal speed limit, however, is where you find the true speed. One poor chap needed a change of underwear after a run around the block, but that's another story. Matched with this engine is a 6-speed manual box. The ratios are well spaced, and the 0.5 to 1 top gear ratio gives relaxed highway cruising, and it also helps on the fuel economy front. The drawback is the clutch. Its action is heavy, and so in heavy traffic it becomes a bit of a chore. That aside, I guess it is rather progressive.
My pet peeve has to do with something GM calls switch shift. Now, because motoring's a family show, I can't tell you what I would call it. However, when you pull away in first gear, if you move away slowly, as you should do, it automatically pushes you into fourth, which causes the engine to lug badly. And if you need to move any faster than a snail, you've got to go and find second all over again. It's really aggravating. Now, the sad part is it's not GM's fault. It was legislated in the US because of fuel economy reasons. I've got a message for the government. Not only should they stay out of the bedroom, stay the heck out of gearboxes too.
The suspension features a double wishbone design up front and a solid axle multi-link design in back. The whole lot has been reworked to handle the extra horsepower. First, the spring rates have been increased, the shocks have been revalved for faster response, and the sway bars are much thicker. Pontiac's engineers also stiffened the transmission mount and panhard rod bushings. The latter is what locates the rear axle, keeping it in place when the power comes on stream. On the skid pad, the revisions had the desired effect. Body roll is next to non-existent and the feel is perfectly predictable. On the highway though, the settings are on the stiff side, meaning you become quite intimate with practically every bump. Personally, I would soften the lot up just a smidgen.
One of the contributors to the overall harshness of the ride are these tyres. They're a massive set of 275/40 ZR17s. Now, while the 275 is perfect on the skid pad, the very low profile does little for ride comfort.
Stopping power is supplied by a 4-wheel disc brake system that features the usual anti-lock. Now, these things are powerful, stopping the Ram Air from 80k in just over 118 feet. The pedal feel, though, is not all it could be because it requires a lot of pressure to get the desired stops. That said, and in fairness to GM, these brakes had been trashed, and so it's probably a flaw unique to our tester. Inside, the Firebird is tastefully attired with all the major controls being readily reached and easily operated. Normally, I'm not a fan of steering wheel mounted radio controls, but given the gusto at your right foot, they actually come in handy on this car.
It's a beautiful day, you want to take the T-tops off. On this car, it's that simple. The really nice part though, GM have thought to add a proper storage space. You simply drop them in like that. You can now drive around without fear of damaging your T-tops.
On the safety front, the Trans Am comes with the right stuff, from dual airbags to anti-lock brakes. Now, traction control is an available option, and one, given the power, I would highly recommend.
With the exception of these pop-up monstrosities, this Trans Am is quite a car. And you know what? For the second time in as many weeks, I have had a real blast doing test drive. Before I go, one little piece of advice. If you goose this car, you override the switch shift. Well, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Thanks, GM, and I apologize for the rubber.